Hey, Crystal Maiden here. In this part, I'm going to show off a few more Windfall Island side quests and the flight control platform in all its infamous glory. I don't understand why he hates postmen so much. Obviously, this is basically... It's not that he's a postman. I'm pretty sure it's because he's a Rito. And you know, this touches on an interesting topic that was never actually really brought up again after Majora's Mask. See, the thing about Majora's Mask, aside from time management in Zelda game, was that you had multiple different races, like Zoras and Gorons, as well as humans, and they would share a civilization together like it was nothing. And they actually portrayed that realistically by having racism as a topic. You could transform into different races using various items, and you would actually get treated differently depending on what race you were. Like if you were a Goron, a dog would be afraid of you, and if you were a Deku Scrub, you would be attacked by the dog. And some shops would refuse to sell to you if you weren't a human. So Majora's Mask had that racism topic there, which I felt actually, like, deepened the story, made it a lot more compelling, made you feel sorry for different races. And having the rich guy hate Ritos is actually the smallest hint we have at that returning. But he's the only example we ever see of that. See? This says, apparently the Moblin wants to eat Maggie? But again, I don't really understand why he would want to eat her when he gave her so many necklaces. Wouldn't he just eat her right away? Why would he go through trouble of giving her all that jewelry if he didn't at least have a crush on her? Does he have a really terrible grasp on English? I mean, that would explain the terrible handwriting she's suffering from. Like, she could barely even read that letter. That's why she paused so much. Although the sheer fact that a monster can write a letter is very impressive. I mean, sure he can walk upright, but we usually don't see many hints of the monsters in Zelda games being intelligent. We haven't really seen monsters even so much as talk since Zelda 1. Although I'm kind of glad monsters don't talk because, like in Link's Awakening they talked and they were really annoying, having generic villain dialogue. And they also had unfortunate implications, like they're intelligent beings, but Link has no problem with killing them. But still, like, it's interesting, the Moblin-Maggie relationship. Kinda weird, though. Like, I don't know, like, again, I support it because it's a romance. I guess I kind of wish that she would get together with him, like, have a happy relationship. But, I don't know, it's weird. I just don't understand. I also don't understand how the Moblin would be able to deliver the letter in the first place. It's not like there's a post box on Forsaken Fortress. But anyways, this is a pretty annoying and unplayable minigame. It's not really designed well. Like, for one, there should be more tornadoes around. And for another, even though I have the double magic meter, it honestly doesn't feel like this minigame was properly designed. Like, it feels like this minigame wasn't playtested at all, and was, like, they seem to believe that you would have a lot more magic than you actually do. Like, try as I may, I can't beat this legitimately no matter how hard I try. I think I might have done it once. Like he compliments you there, but he still doesn't give you the reward. So, yeah. This is a heart piece side. This is something that really does deserve to be cheated. I don't really care about doing it legitimately at this point. Look, I came so close! I came so close! Why? It is unreasonable, like, the tornadoes aren't always going to be in the position that you need them to be, so it's not like you can just jump ahead and go forwards and always guarantee that you'll be able to get risen up by them. Justice. And just to be sure, I wonder what happens if you go over that flag. I mean, I guess maybe falling into the water ends the minigame and brings you back no matter what? Well, I know there's a glitch associated with this. I think I'll talk about that a lot later. Maybe in another Zelda LP. But yeah, fuck this minigame. Another plot hole, sort of, is there's so much space between the bars on Ariel's cage. Couldn't Ariel just squeeze between them? Of course, once she's out of the cage, how's she expecting to escape the island? At least being in the cage gave her food. A real plot hole is why Ariel was kept alive in the cave if Ganon found out she wasn't Zelda. That's a food expense. Why did he keep the girls alive? And how did the giant bird fly after he was sent falling into the water and got his feathers wet? How did they make these things anyways, and like float them? And like they're made of wood. Wouldn't the wood get all mildewy from constantly being in the ocean? Come to think of it, there's a wooden submarine. Like, the submarines in this game are made of wood. There's a reason we don't make submarines out of wood. And that's not the only way that wood, the texture doesn't really get used properly. Like, there's actually a wooden ladder in the fire dungeon. And at least they bothered to make it look slightly charred. I guess it's a relief to see that the wooden ladder is only slightly charred by being around lava all the time. You think that the sheer convection of the lava would completely destroy the wooden ladder. Like, that's another thing, like convection. In Ocarina of Time, you would have to get the Goron tunic in order to be able to stand the hot rooms, because if you went into lava-filled rooms without the Goron tunic on, then you would see a time limit, and you wouldn't be able to stay in there for much longer. Now, if you were a skilled enough glitcher speedrunner, you wouldn't need to use the Goron tunic at all in the entire game, but still. So Ocarina of Time tried to be realistic with the whole Goron tunic thing, and this game abandons that, which is annoying because, like, it's kind of lame how there's only one tunic in the whole game. You can't ever change Link's clothes to look different. Now, I think personally that Breath of the Wild went a little too far with allowing you to basically wear whatever you want, as long as it was like armor, and you can even have him walk around with no shirt on if you want. Like, I think it kind of went a little too far. I mean, I'm glad that they ditched the tunic, because I've always had the suspicion that the reason that a lot of people make fun of Zelda is because Link wears a silly looking green tunic. Now, I've never really had that confirmed, but yeah, maybe the whole tunic thing is, maybe having Link dressed as Peter Pan is hurting the series' appeal. So Breath of the Wild ditched that. And that's nice, but I don't know. I'm also fine with, like, just having the tunic on and having different colors. Like, I fondly remember, like, with my old action replay, I would go through the different types of codes for this game, and I would see, like, the codes for the different versions of the game, like the European version and the Japanese version, which, whenever I tried to use the Japanese codes, my game would crash on the title screen and the sun would look weird. So that was weird. But apparently the European codes worked just fine, which makes sense because there's actually an English version of this game in Europe. So it's not like the PAL version of the game should be all that different. Like, it's weird, like I think the European version has more codes than this. Like, it has a big and small code. And I remember seeing a huge amount of tunic codes. So it sucks that I never really used them. I also tend to get my memories of those codes mixed up with the codes for Ocarina of Time. Like, there's a code called Shut Up Navi, for example. And I always had that kind of mystical faraway feeling to it, where my first knowledge of Ocarina of Time as a kid was seeing it on the action replay list, and seeing stuff like the fairy bow. And I thought, like, what the fuck is that? But it didn't get me curious enough to try to buy the game, though. So, something I haven't talked about for the previous part was, you know how Lenzo, the cameraman, talked about one of his photos? He had a photo of Outset Island, and he said, "It was there that I met a beautiful young lass." Although I suppose she's not as young now. Who is he talking about? Is he talking about Link's grandma? Because, like, I guess he's old because he sort of has dark gray hair and beard. And he talks about a beautiful young lass, but then says that the woman isn't as young now. Now, the only woman that he could possibly be talking about is Link's grandma, because she's the only woman on the island, aside from the young pot lady. So, is this implying that Lenzo fell in love with Link's grandma? Is this implying that he had a relationship with her? Is Lenzo Link's grandpa? Like, you never found out because Lenzo just left her? I don't know. Maybe that's what the game was implying. Like, that would have been a pretty interesting plot twist. I mean, it doesn't really matter who Link's grandpa... It doesn't really matter who Link's grandpa and even his parents are. Like, we never find out what happens to Link's parents. Like, in general, there's never really any games where Link has parents. Like, in Ocarina of Time, the closest we get is Link has a mom who's mentioned to have abandoned him because she had to, because she died while protecting him during a war and got into the Great Deku Leaf. The Great Deku Tree. How would a Deku Leaf? Wow. I'm glad I made that screw up. But yeah, I'm almost finished up filling the Great Sea Chart. Those things are really annoying. It's weird, because usually the Star Island is the island that I start out with. Like, when I'm filling up the Great Sea Chart. So, I guess I wanted to switch things up. I really like the Star Island. Like, I love how it's shaped. Again, like, I love islands that have creative shapes to them. Like, Headstone Island was kind of boring. But I like Shark Island, and I like anything that's not a boring archipelago. Like, this is, well, in terms of how it actually plays, it's kind of disappointing because, well, you go into that cave, and it's, as far as I can remember, it's not really anything exciting. It's just another slugfest. You know that cave below Popprint Island? With a whole new aesthetic to it, and actual puzzles to solve if you call, like, walking through it and opening a chest and then destroying one boulder a puzzle, but it was still more interesting than just fighting a bunch of enemies. So, you'd expect that to be the standard for all of the islands of the game, since the Popprint Island is probably the first random island you're ever going to go to in the entire game. You'd think it would set the standard, but instead, most of the random islands are just this. And sometimes they try to make it look artificially different by having it look different. Like with Shark Island, you're basically doing this, but it looks different. You don't have the sharp teeth there. Fire Dungeon boss is actually called Goma, which is really weird because it looks nothing like Goma of Zelda 1. It also doesn't look like the Goma from Twilight Princess. In fact, it's absolutely nothing like it at all, so it's like they're too lazy to think of a new boss name and they just recycled it out of laziness. Some really big plot hole that I've always really been aware of for quite a while now is that why did Ganon try to kill Link for most of the game when he needed him to break the seal on his minions? Because think about it, he needed Link to be alive in order for him to draw the Master Sword. So why did he send monsters after him to try to kill him all game? Like, it's not like Link would have gotten suspicious, because if monsters weren't ever there in the first place, if he never had to deal with any monsters up until the point where he drew the Master Sword, then Link would have no reason to think it was weird because he wouldn't know what he was missing. Then I don't think he would have cared because, well, he would have never seen monsters at all. The Helmer Arcane was a monster though, so if he hadn't ever seen monsters, because Ganon hadn't ever sent out monsters to try to do what he wants, then he would have never gone on his quest to save Ariel, and so he never would have drew the Master Sword. So I guess, like, I don't know, maybe that was Ganon's plan. Maybe he somehow knew that sending all those monsters over there would draw the Hero of Time to him, or the Hero Winds, whatever. I don't know, it just seems like a pretty big hole in Ganon's plan that he tries to kill Link so many times before he's even drawn the Master Sword. And even then, at the very end of the game, he needs him alive too, because if he kills him, then he won't be able to get the Triforce of Courage from him. Like, he even said he wouldn't kill him.